Welcome back to the Dojo of Game. And today we have another video from Dr. Kirk Honda going over Andrew Tate's date. This is part 2 of the video. I reacted to part 1. There's some things that I agree with Kurt, and there's some things that I disagree with. Some things that I agree with Andrew Tate, some things that I disagree with. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what Kurt has to say. Now, this guy is a trained psychologist, so he's very intelligent. He's very good at what he does. And he has a lot of smart things to say. Most of the things that he has to say, they hold a lot of merit, but some of them are unfortunately skewed to fit the politically correct narrative. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. And yes, he is skewing his viewpoints to fit the politically correct narrative. As somebody who is able to speak English and Spanish, I've had psychology sessions with psychologists in Spanish, and in Latin America they do not care about the politically correct narrative, so you can get more of an objective view from my psychologist, and you can see where he's skewing a bit what he thinks in order to fit what makes his audience happy. So there is that there, but at the same time he has a business, so I'm not going to knock his hustle, but it's part of what he does. Let's take a look.
Time to continue watching this interview with Andrew Tate, as many of you have been asking me to watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Let's watch, and I'll react.
I'd just say top like a high value man.
What would you say constitutes a high value man?
A high value man is someone that is successful financially.
Okay.
I'd say it's someone that's got a lot of integrity and good morals, that is very well respected, is very sure of himself, but also is a very family orientated man. That's for me a high value man.
Okay, it's fine. I'm a high value baby.
He's very sure of himself. Yeah, so what's a high value man for you?
Pretty much basically what you said. I think a high value man is a capable man. I think capability can be judged in many different ways, and capability is something which varies depending on the situation.
Okay, so when we want to break down philosophically what they are referring to as high value man, we break it down. Okay, so high meaning high, higher in hierarchy, and value. So what do we mean by value? What do we mean by man, for crying out loud? But what do we mean by value? Is that someone that you can show off? Is it someone that will give you money? Is it someone that will make you happy? Is it someone that will look good on your resume, so to speak, when you describe your partner to other people? Is it someone that Instagrams well with you? What is a high value man? So you have to define, what do you mean by value? Now, she said a high value man is someone who's successful, who has high integrity, who is sure of himself, but also is a family orientated man, quote unquote. But then she was clear to say that's how I value, which is a good thing to say at the end of that. It's like, I'm not saying that's what I think that, that's not everyone defines, but that's the sort of man that I'm looking for. And I think for her, value means dateable, someone who is worth pursuing in a long-term relationship. I think what he means by value might be something quite different.
You need a man who is capable of doing lots of different things that he doesn't do very often. You need a man who's capable of being violent when the time appears. Of course, you need a man who's capable of making money. You need a man who can kill somebody and hold a baby in the same day. You need
you need a man who is capable of violence. Why does anyone need to be violent? It's like zero. Now, in certain circles, I understand they value that, but certainly not in mine. I haven't had a need to be violent since I was immature as a young 20s person. And even then, I didn't need to be violent. I felt like I needed to be, but I actually didn't need to be violent. Now, should you try to defend yourself and the people you love within reason? Yeah, but often that means just getting away from a-holes who will try to be violent with you. Then let's run this.
Okay, so what he's trying to say there is basically a man who's completely willing to defend his family, his woman, when the time is necessary, but who also is able to have a soft heart when the time is necessary. I mean, that's the way I'm taking it. Maybe I'm not even taking it right, but so, for example, yes, in an ideal world, you should never be violent, obviously, but the idea that you never have to be violent, that's not true. Maybe since he has money and he lives in a good neighborhood, good spot, good city, I guess, he doesn't feel that he's ever had the need, and that's fantastic. I wish everybody lived that way, but unfortunately, that's not how a lot of people live. It depends on what city you live in. Cities where people will try to rob you with a knife. Now, if they have a gun, I mean, what are you gonna do? Just try to comply or run away. But a knife, if you know how to fight, and you kick him in the face, he's not gonna be able to reach you with the knife. I mean, it's also not a good idea. If you have space to run away, you should run away, obviously, if you're facing a knife. But let's say he has a knife pointed at the female you're with. You're gonna have to know some way to separate him from the female, right? You would want to be able to protect her, or a child. You would want to be able to protect them. If you see somebody kidnapping a child, you should be capable of defending that child, even if you don't know the child, because it's your duty as a man to do so. I mean, it's what you got to do. And it's extremely important to be able to defend yourself. I mean, a lot of the world is full of crime. It's full of people on edge, people that will have mental illness that may come attack you. And the reason why a woman would be interested in that is because it's not as easy for them to defend themselves from a man, obviously, because men are physically stronger. But if she has that man to pack her up, it gives her a little bit more comfort. And she knows that she can trust him to do so. I mean, that's why it's important. It's pretty idealistic to think that you'll never need to be violent. Although, like I said, if you can avoid it, you should always avoid it. It's obviously not the smart thing to do. And if you're arguing with somebody insults you, obviously you shouldn't fight them. That's immature. I'm literally just talking about being attacked on the street. Somebody maybe strikes a woman in your presence. They definitely deserve to be put in their place. And I mean, there's just some times when you have no choice.
Different things that he doesn't do very often. You need a man who's capable of being violent when the time appears. Of course, you need a man who's capable of making money. You need a man who can kill somebody and hold a baby in the same day.
I think he's just speaking off the top of his head. I imagine that he hasn't thought this through, because I would really drill down on that statement. You need a man, and what do you mean by you and need? That's what I want. What do you mean by that? You?
Because women need to be protected by men. See, this is that thing where he panders to the political correctness. Women do need to be protected by men. If you're a woman, you say, I don't need anybody to protect me. Unfortunately, you're delusional. You do. Men are physically stronger, and they're not slightly physically stronger. They are a lot stronger. A lot. Fighting a woman is probably similar to fighting a child. Okay? A 14-year-old boy is stronger than a 30-year-old woman. In most cases, I know there's outliers. There's women that are very strong, and there's men that are very weak. Obviously, there's outliers. I'm generalizing. But you do need a man to protect you. Even if you're the strongest woman, you're a pro fighter, and you can beat up most normal men. When a pro fighter woman goes against a pro fighter man, then the playing field has been, again, made uneven. So, like I said, the outlier exists, but generally, yes, it's almost impossible that if you're a woman, you will not need a man to protect you. When women say that, it's coming from complete delusion. You are not capable of defending yourself from a man. I'm sorry that Captain Marvel and all these Disney movies have confused you, and you believe that you can, but you cannot. We are physically different. It's part of our species. We are a species. We are the human species, right? And we are also mammals, and this is evident in all species of mammals. There is a dominant sex, and it's almost always the male. The only mammal that I have on the top of my head right now that the female is the dominant sex is the hyena. But unlike other species of mammals, the female hyena is bigger and more aggressive than the male hyena. So considering that our nature as a human is the opposite, then that's why it works that way. You cannot negate reality for your narrative. That's just being delusional, and at the end of the day, it's extremely unhealthy.
as in every man or her or you? What do you mean? You need a man who is capable of killing someone and holding a baby in the same day. Is that a metaphor? Is he saying you need someone who is capable of assertiveness and also tenderness in the same day? Or are you literally saying you need someone who can kill someone? Under what circumstance? Are you talking about in war, or as a part of your job, or as a psychopath? Like, what are you talking about? Now, what is the effect? I'm guessing that he's more of an effect communicator rather than an actual ideas person. I don't know, but the effect is he's communicating. What's being communicated? He's not really, in my estimation, as most people aren't, particularly on a first date, talking verbatim about what they're trying to communicate. I would take a guess that what he is attempting to communicate is that he's a tough guy, that he is capable of killing someone and holding a baby, meaning that he is capable of true masculine, ideals of violence and assertiveness and self-assuredness, while also being able to be a good enough father that would hold his baby, that would value his family or something like that. That would be my guess as to what he's trying to communicate. That's his way of trying to communicate his value. Okay. And she seems to be agreeing with it. He said, you need someone who can be violent. And she says, yeah, you need a guy who can be violent. So if they see eye to eye on that, then maybe they're a good match.
You need a man with a very broad spectrum of qualities and assets and capabilities. And this is actually what the most difficult thing about being a man is. Most people, when I say most people, let me change that. Most females don't respect how difficult it is to become a high-value man. Because to become a high-value man, you need to have so many different qualities and so many different capabilities. It's a very difficult thing to do. You need to be funny and smart and charismatic and interesting with stories.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree necessarily, but I would degenderize it and say that there's a lot of pressure on everyone of every gender to be a lot of things, to be funny and interesting and successful and capable of all sorts of things. So I would say that a lot of people have pressure on themselves. We could easily say, well, women have perhaps much greater pressures to have a perfect body, to have a perfect face, perfect skin, perfect teeth, perfect micro parts of their body, no wrinkles, white teeth, perfect hair, perfect clothes. There's a lot of outside pressure put on people to be all sorts of ways. And there's even micro pockets of culture, like in my field, in the field of psychotherapy and professors, there's a lot of pressure to always be smart and brilliant and wise at all times. But it's interesting. I think he's expressing a little bit of vulnerability here. He's, I think, admitting to feeling a lot of pressure to be perfect, feeling a lot of pressure to come across like he has it all, like he is the perfect male archetype, which I wonder what traumas he's been through to make him feel that he has to be perfect.
And strong.
I completely agree with everything he said besides the de-gendering thing, because, again, that's just politically correctness. It is gendered because women, they have a ton of challenges. They have a ton of difficulties that are specific to their gender. And it's not going to be appreciated by men because men are unable to... Oh, I got a phone call. All right, sorry, I got a phone call. So back to what I was saying. I agree with what he says, except the degendering of it, because yes, women have tons of their own pressures, tons of their own difficulties they go through that are specific to their gender. And this also would be unappreciated by men because men are unable to experience what a woman experiences. You can't really experience something that you're not. So obviously, vice versa would be true as well. Women will not be able to appreciate 100% all of the things that men go through, or even understand 100% all of the things that men go through, because they don't live life as a man, and it's impossible to really experience someone else's experience 100%. Plus, in order for either gender to really understand the difficulties that either gender goes through, they would have to go out of their way to research it and analyze and really think about it, and most people are not really going out of their way for those things. So it actually is true that it is gendered, but this is a little bit of PC that he's doing again, but everything else he said makes perfect sense. So
and rich with a nice car and a nice apartment. Whereas to be a high value female, you need to be hot. If you're nice, it's a bonus, but it's not even that necessary.
But there is one thing where some women have it easier than men, and now this is completely situational because it depends on how the woman appears, right? How attractive she is. But if a woman is attractive, she can kind of bypass almost everything else and still get a lot of positive interactions from the opposite gender just for the mere reason that she's attractive. She can be boring, uninteresting, unintelligent, really have nothing else going for her, and men will still be at her feet, buying her whatever she wants, taking her for free dinners. And it doesn't matter if you're a top 10, like 10 out of 10 of a man of being attractive. Women are not going to pay for everything for you. I mean, it's a different scenario. You still have to be intelligent. You still have to be charismatic. You still have to have success. You still have to have all these things. Even if, like I said, if you're top 10, maybe you can get the girl in bed, right? But if you don't have other things going for you, she's going to dump you after a month or something like that. Like, men have a lot of expectations. Women are a lot more difficult to attract than men are. Women have a lot more standard, I guess, or qualifications that they need from a man in order for that man to fulfill what they're looking for. Women don't simply just say he's really hot and just get married to that guy for that reason. But men, unfortunately, will do that sometimes. So there is that.
That's it.
If you're a
Right. So he says all the pressure on men, and then he says to be a high value female, all you got to do is be hot, which is pretty ignorant of reality and the data. We've studied sexism in our Western society, particularly in the United States, for decades. And
Definitely not, like I said. You can literally just be an attractive woman, upload photos to Instagram, make boring YouTube videos, and monetize your channel, monetize your Instagram, because you'll have tons of viewers that just want to see you because you're attractive, and that doesn't happen when you're a man. So this is true. Now, are all women attractive? No. So this is only going for a specific group of women. Obviously, not all women have this luxury, but it is something that some women have, and it can't be denied because it's perfectly blatantly obvious in reality. Just go ahead and check out the Instagram models and see how intelligent and charismatic and interesting and how many intelligent things they have to say and how creative they are and how deep and philosophically they can think. I mean, it's usually not the case. They're usually pretty dull besides the way they look, and the only reason they can do that is because they're women, because men value looks on such a high level. Men are basically visually aroused quite easily, especially if they're young and have high testosterone. And this is undeniable. I mean, you can try to argue it, but it's just pure male nature. And women have an emotional element to arousal. Now, do men have an emotional element to being in a relationship with a woman? Most definitely. Are most men looking for something deep and meaningful with a woman? Most definitely. But a lot of men are just insecure, just like a lot of women. And if the woman's attractive and she lacks everything else, he might not let her go just for the mere idea that he'll never have another woman like that, because that's one of the things that goes with male insecurity, is that they feel that there's a huge scarcity, as if the attention that they got from a woman is a very unique encounter, and it needs to be like, I don't know, it's just women have the opposite, right? Because men always approach them, so they would think that they have an endless abundance of men, and yeah, it just happens. It's just nature. I mean, is it sexist? No, it's just observation of nature. It's not sexist to observe nature. It's not misogynist or misandrist to point out the differences that are blatantly obvious in nature. It's just a simple observation, and that's something that's getting twisted now, is that telling the truth is bad, but telling the truth is good. Telling the truth is the most loving and beautiful thing you can do, and lying is deception, and lying will cause people to live in delusion, and there's really nothing positive about it besides making them feel comfortable in the moment, which also is not important. As an adult, seeking comfort is just going to make you waste your time. You shouldn't be seeking comfort. You should be seeking improvement and constant improvement. Why? Because comfort doesn't really exist in a long duration of time. Maybe you're comfortable for like a few minutes out of the day, or like an hour when you're watching TV, but in reality, comfort is scarce, and it isn't something that you should try to pursue or really try to avoid. It's sort of a waste of time.
The pressure is tremendous. Now, to him, he might not know the pressure because he has the privilege of being a man and doesn't have to know what it's like to be a woman and to have that pressure. It could look that way from the outside. And the more he talks, the more I think he's in the manosphere echo chamber, which is rife with this kind of attitude, this attitude that women, all they do is just wake up in the morning and they have all the power in the world, especially hot women. They can do whatever they want. They can get whatever job they want. They can get whatever date they want. They can get drinks at bars paid for them. They can rise the ladder at corporations because everyone prefers them. They can do whatever they want. Men just have to deal with that. And it's ridiculous because, of course, it's not true. That's a scientifically...
Okay. If a woman is attractive and she is very attractive, yes, she can get a lot of what she wants. She can get rich men to fly her in jets across the world. She can get people to buy her expensive things. She can get attention. Yeah, she can. Now, is she going to get high in a corporate setting because of that? No, because in a corporate setting, you need the cerebral aspect of it. But as far as getting free things and getting men to buy them drinks at bars, this is, yes, even unattractive women, men buy them drinks at bars. So, yes, that's true. It's not delusion, it's a complete fact. And like I said before, it's not wrong to observe reality. It's perfectly fine. Some women will even exploit this and date men just so they can have free dinners, even though they're not interested in the man. And I've had women admit this to me before, that they do these things. So, I mean, I'm not judging it either. Maybe a lot of men would do that too if they had that capacity. So, yeah, but obviously this is a bit of delusion, because once the looks start going away, once you get a little bit older, none of this is going to happen anymore. So if you don't do anything for yourself, then it's obviously not good either, because it's just a matter of time before that runs out. But they do have that ability. They do have that. If they are an attractive woman, they have a lot of power over men. Like, they can get out of parking tickets even if the police officer's attracted to them. Like, you can do a lot with being an attractive woman.
Not true. Now, might there be privileges to being attractive, regardless of gender? Yeah, there are privileges, but it's not all encompassing in that way. And for a lot in the manosphere, a lot of men in the manosphere, they long for closeness. They long, in terms of my estimate, and I've had many clients in this situation. That's how I became first aware of this about 15 years ago. Was clients started coming to me with struggles with relationships, and they would start talking about the pickup artist community, and eventually incels and MGTOW and Red Pill and all these other people. And every client I've worked with this issue had relational traumas growing up where they felt rejected of some sort. They've had adult relationships. All the guys were heterosexual and cis, and they had adult relationships that did not go well, or no relationships as an adult because they were shy, or they had been indoctrinated into a mindset that put a barrier between them and women or something. They were depressed, all sorts of barriers to...
See, another thing that he's actually indirectly mentioning a disadvantage that men have is that some men did not have relationships because they were shy. Women find that extremely unattractive, but then again, if a woman's shy, men do not generally care. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can point out that are different between the genders without it being any type of sexism besides mere observation. Mere observation is not an ism.
Meeting people and having your needs met in terms of attachment and companionship. And they turn to the internet, and the internet has a manosphere echo chamber that makes a lot of excuses to validate their experience. One of which is that women are privileged, actually, that sexism is actually a problem for men, not for women, that women know that they can control men. Women know that they don't have to do anything to get them. And it's just based on their myopic little world, because for them, that's what it was like. They approached women at the club or at school or at work and were rejected, and saw those women be able to choose who they wanted to date according to them. And so in their experience, that's what it's like. And they generalize that literally to 4 billion people on the planet, that all women have this control and all men do not. And so men have all the hardship. Men have to work hard, have to prove themselves to women, and women get to choose whatever they want to do. It's just not true. You ask any woman. Now, might there be a woman or a small set of women that are like this? Yeah, but there's men who are like this, heterosexual men who are like this. Anyway, generally speaking, if you talk to women, they're just like, yeah, dating's hard.
Pretty female.
Okay, so dating is hard for women for this reason, is that there are not a lot of good men out there. Men have degraded in society just like women have, and if you're a good woman, it's going to be hard for you to find that man who is also a good man. If you're a good man, it's going to be hard for you to find that woman who's also a good woman. It's just an unfortunate thing that's going on. But women, they do not have difficulty getting dates. They have difficulty accepting dates. And men, they will kind of just take the dates, even if the girl's below their standard a lot of the time. Like I said, men have a scarcity mentality, and men are pretty easily impressed also. So they'll just take it. They'll take the date. That's why women have a hard time finding dates, is because they're more true to their standards, so they do a lot more rejection of the men that approach them. But generally, women will get approached by men even if they're not that attractive. Now, do unattractive women have a lot of these benefits? No, and unfortunately, attraction is just something you're born with. It's just a privilege. It's not really... I mean, you can get in shape if you're unattractive, and then if you get in shape, that'll make you a lot more attractive. But it is largely genetic, unfortunately.
Even if you're a piece of shit person, you're going to get messages on Instagram.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a good-looking man who lives with his mother, you ain't getting any messages.
Okay, so he starts with the premise that women don't have to do anything and men have to do everything. And then his data point is that if you're an attractive woman on Instagram, you're going to get messages. Whereas if you're an attractive man, I think he's saying on Instagram, you won't necessarily get messages. He also mentions living at home. Does he live at home with his parents or something? I don't know. Or is he speaking for other people? The manosphere, there's a lot of men still living at home with their parents and feeling very bad about themselves, potentially because of the way we will pressure people to be a certain way, which is unfortunate. But anyway, so he says, if you're an attractive woman on Instagram, you're going to get messages. Okay, but what does that mean? That means something, I suppose. But it also means that we socialize men that they're supposed to pursue, that they have the right to do that. You ask any woman, like a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, Rebecca, she told me recently that frequently she gets hit on LinkedIn. She has a public LinkedIn page, and men will proposition her on LinkedIn, and it's not anonymous, LinkedIn, the person's picture and name is there. Is that a good thing? Is that what people want? Any woman can attest to this onslaught of unsolicited, inappropriate propositions. Is that some sort of privilege for the woman? Is that some sort of pleasant thing? Are they winning in that equation?
Not winning.
Yeah. A lot of men are disgusting in the way they approach women. A lot of men will harass women. A lot of men will disrespect women on the street. And so that it's definitely a disadvantage of being a woman, and it's a lot more prominent in other countries, not as prominent in the US. But as far as social media, yeah, they still get harassed, obviously. So that's a definite disadvantage that women have that men cannot appreciate. Like I said, it's hard to really be in somebody else's shoes 100%. And I have seen that, and I mean, those men, they're not real men anyways. You do have the right to pursue as a man, so I disagree with him there, but in a respectful way, and in once the woman shows that she's not interested, also leave in a respectful way. Do not persist. Persisting is not going to change her mind. They have the right to reject you, and that's something that you need to be aware of, and you need to treat women with complete respect if you're going to approach them. But there's nothing wrong with approaching people. People are social beings. If people think that approaching them is wrong, then they're actually wrong themselves. They have antisocial issues or narcissism that they need to work on, because yes, people coming up and saying hi to people is not disrespectful if you do it in the right manner, and you're gonna have to have a bit of empathy. You're gonna have to be able to read people a bit and be able to understand when a woman doesn't want you to talk to her, because a lot of women, they won't directly tell you, but you can tell by the body language, the way they respond to you, and you have to really read into that and be respectful with what you do. Obviously, everyone on earth deserves respect, but yeah, you can just say hi to people and you can see if she's feeling you or not, and then you can go ahead and continue the conversation. And if she doesn't want to talk to you, just bounce and talk to a different girl. But yeah, men have to pursue, otherwise the men will never have a woman. If a man never pursues a woman, a man will never have a woman. He'll die a virgin. So it's literally impossible. This is how interaction works between men and women. The man approaches, and I mean, it could be the opposite way around, right? So there's some women who are extremely outgoing, but generally a lot of women will feel uncomfortable doing that, and they don't have to, because it's the man's job to do it anyways. And even a lot of men may become turned off by a woman who is approaching them. Men actually like the pursuit, they like the challenge, they like the girl that everybody else can't have. They don't necessarily like women throwing themselves at them unless they don't get that much female attention. So yeah, but hey, there's like I said, there's truth in stuff that he says, but there's also the switch to make sure that he's always pandering to everyone, and that way he's never offending anyone. But as you can see, I don't care. I'm just gonna leave it there though, because I got a lot of stuff to do. I'm in school, I got homework, I got a lot of stuff besides that to do. So I'm gonna peace out. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and I apologize for not wearing a shirt. I literally just woke up. I didn't even brush my hair, so you could see it. I didn't brush it. See, I don't care. The only thing I did was wash my face and brush my teeth, and I have to do some laundry, and I don't have clean clothes right now, so I just wanted to make a video real quick before I get into doing stuff for the day, because later on probably won't feel like it. So I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe.